Hi there everyone, and welcome back to Hollow Knight with me, Kid Gamer Eye. I have a confession to make, you guys. The reason why I haven't posted a video in a while is that I attempted to make a video several days ago, and actually, I had a little mishap. My recording suddenly broke, the game froze, and, my little recording software said, recording failed. And unfortunately, that happened after I did what was in the Tower of Love, which was the place that I said that we were going to go next. I had to take a step back because, as you can imagine, that was kind of upsetting because I had saved after doing that, and so I thought that there was no way for me to show you what was in the Tower of Love, and, I was pretty upset about it just because it's an important little part of the game and, concludes one of the quest lines that's been going on since the very beginning, the very first video, that I did of this game. And there was no way that I could replay the entire game, up until that point exactly as I had done so before, just to fix that. And so, I wanted to think about what I could do to fix it, and I did have an idea. So, I'm gonna, start this video with that disclaimer that this is gonna be a little bit disjointed because, we're missing some content there, but I'm going to try to, replace it as best as I can to make it still, a full playthrough. So, here right at the beginning, I'm showing you another title screen. This one is called Godmaster from the DLC of the same name, and it's actually going to become relevant to this video. When I started recording this video the first time, it really wasn't relevant to what we were going to be doing, but now it is. But anyway, it came along with that DLC and is in the beautiful shining gold colors of Godhome, the little place that is actually not so little, that was inside the dream of that strange looking bug that came out of the sarcophagus in the junk pit. So, what we're going to do is we're going to hit it and get started. And I came back to the City of Tears before, noping out of playing the game for about 2 weeks. And we are going to head to the Tower of Love. I haven't really changed up my charms or done anything like that, because I want you to see what the interior of the place looks like. And I'm really sorry that this happened, and that, since the game auto-saves and, I did stay at a bench after that, I'm just really hoping that, this isn't going to be an ongoing problem. It's not even like the other time when my recording broke, where it was because I accidentally tapped a button, and, that was all my own fault, and it was also my own fault that I didn't realize that, I had been missing things. But luckily that time, I caught it and realized before I did anything super important besides just some exploring. Unfortunately, this time, there wasn't anything to catch. It just happened. The game just completely froze, and I got the little message that said, recording failed. Anyway, here we are at the top of the Tower of Love. As you can hear, it's silent now, unfortunately, because of, my mishap there. But the door used to be here. We used the love key to get in. It gave the same, description of it, just a padded door. But come up here, and we got more padded walls and a lot more of those jars that are like the jars, and not just like them, but exactly like, the jars that the grubs were being kept in. And up here, there was a boss battle. Now, what I'm going to do next is just... This was the boss battle that was with the character who has been, taking the grubs. So what I'm going to do now is we are going to fudge this a little bit so that I don't have to go all the way to Godhome, in this game and get all the way down there. What I'm going to do is we're going to quit to menu, and we are actually going to head into my main game where I am in Godhome, still every so often trying to do the Pantheons in here and, you know, hone my fighting skills. Because if you remember from when we were briefly in here checking the place out, the way Godhome works is when you beat a boss, you end up with a statue of them that you can fight again and again as many times as you want. Well, guess who I can fight? The boss that you would have otherwise missed. So, again, I'm sorry that this happened, guys, but I am going to show you this boss. Just be aware that, the way that you would have fought them in that, you know, boss battle room. It's going to look different because it's going to look like, you know, an arena, almost like the Colosseum of Fools, but with the Godhome folks, you know, watching the battle. Obviously, that wouldn't have been happening in the true battle in the game. But other than that, everything is almost the same. And the things that aren't the same, you know, I will point out to you, you know, along the way. The fight itself is the same, it's just that it ends a little bit more abruptly, and I will tell you what happens, you know, in the in-game version of it. Not that this isn't the game, but you know what I mean, the in-story version. Anyway, so, let's, as I said in my first attempted recording of this video, aren't you guys just seriously angry with the person who has been just capturing grubs and sticking them in jars all over the kingdom, and sometimes in very dangerous places, and certainly in out-of-the-way places, where they can't get back to their father? So as I said, let's get their ass. They're called the Collector. And yes, they do just sort of scream and bounce around. Some things that I want you to notice while I'm doing this fight that are exactly the same as what they were in the in-story version that I lost is that, you know, notice the music is like a distorted version of, you know, other battle musics. And, that this character, when I hit them with my sword, I do not get soul. What is the only other kind of creature that we did not get soul for when hitting them with the nail? The siblings in the Abyss. Plus, you can see the Collector is pure black, similarly to your Shade and the siblings in the Abyss. They're jumping around and giving off the kind of, they're dripping with it right now. But, you know, when we do our Shadow Dash and give off that, you know, circular cloud of void stuff from the Abyss, the Collector does the same thing when you hit them. And that is the Collector's defeat. Still laughing, you know, having a nice fun freak out time. And so like I said, there were a couple things about that fight right at the end that were a bit different than what you would see in the in-story version of this. And I am going to tell you about that, but for right now, just give me 1 second, guys. Okay, gang, sorry about that. I had to take a phone call. Anyway, as I said, basically the only difference is that at the end of the Collector fight, when you do it in story, the Collector suddenly slumps forward, similarly to what they looked like when we staggered them in the middle of the battle, and you get the opportunity to dream nail them because they're not attacking you anymore. You just sort of have to wail on them until they die. And the dream nail dialogue that you get is, I will read it to you. There's 3 different things that you can get, and they sort of just randomly cycle. One of them is just, "It must be saved!" Another is, my love, protected at last!" And the last of them is, "A safe space for you, and you, and you!" So, from that, you can sort of get the idea that, you know, the Collector intends not to imprison creatures for a sinister purpose, but to protect them. Of course, that in itself is still sinister because the creatures still do end up in jars. As you saw during the fight, it looks like the Collector also collects, you know, the sort of low-level enemies. In fact, other than the Aspid, we have the little Vengeflies and the little Balders. So they're almost like, you know, the baby versions of creatures. So, you know, that's interesting. But then again, at the end of the fight, in this version, you got to see them, you know, screech and laugh and dissolve into, you know, the same kind of stuff that happens when we do our, you know, Shade Cloak dash. So next, what I'm going to do is we're going to switch games again, since that was the way that I could think of to let you see that boss battle, even though it didn't take place in the location that it was supposed to. What's going to happen is I'm going to go back into, you know, the game that we were really playing together, and I got to go, you know, back to the Tower of Love, because I'm going to show you just the rest of the tower. But I'm just going to keep apologizing for how, like, weird this is, but, you know, that was the best way that I could think of, so I hope that it was, you know, still entertaining to watch. But, we still have that same, you know, food for thought about, why was there a creature that seems to be made of the same stuff that the siblings and our Shade are made of? You know, the black stuff that seems to come from the abyss. Why would something like that be, you know, hanging out here? It's not a vessel, because, no, you know, mask, no cloak, you know, not like, you know, all the bodies that were down in the abyss. Now, you know, so what kind of creature was that? Is that a kind of creature that just exists naturally? Did someone create that? You know, what is going on here? And why was it given like such an ornate home, locked behind a door? Obviously, they could get out because they were able to travel all across the kingdom collecting grubs and, you know, putting them in various places. So, not truly imprisoned, but apparently you know, like other people can't get in to it. One wonders whether this was intended as a prison and the Collector is just able still to come and go as they please, or if it really was just put behind a closed door to protect them. You know, so that's interesting. Now, when we came up here the first time in my Lost video, there were 3 additional grub jars right here. And or no. This is the boss battle arena. I am sorry. The 3 additional grub jars were up here, amidst, you know, this sign and other stuff. Actually, you can go up here, and there is a diagram that shows a grub and a jar, and, you know, all these different, like, sort of nodes along a, you know, you could think maybe this is a picture of different locations of where the grubs were hidden, but very abstracted. It could be one of those seal type diagrams, just a different style of them, sort of like the various seals that are on, you know, things that are hard to get into around the kingdom, or, you know, like Hornet seal, you know, things like that, that was in the Weaver's Den, but just like a different drawing style of them. And the other thing that we got for completing that fight was right here, there was an item to pick up that was called the Collector's Map. I don't think there's an icon of it on here because, it was just basically an addition to the map. You can see in the key off to the right that there used to be pins on here that would have shown where the captive grubs are. So basically your reward for destroying the Collector was you got access to the map of where they put everything. Now, the way that we've been playing the game, we actually had already gotten all of the grubs. So there were, you know, no pins. What I did, you know, in my original recording was I didn't grab the 3 that were in the jars just so that you could see, you know, the final 3, you know, as a pin on the map. But, you know, unfortunately you can't see that now. But that's what the pin would have looked like, the little green, you know, grub symbol. So actually, we now have all the grubs. But again, this room, this like ornate desk with, you know, lovely quill pens and, you know, these, you know, intricately drawn, you know, diagrams and signs and things, that doesn't seem to jive with the character that we met, who was jumping around, flailing and giggling and generally acting, you know, like a madman. So, one wonders whether the collector, you know, went mad over time or was always like that, but also had a quiet side where they could, you know, sit down and, you know, draw an ornate map and, you know, all kinds of other things in this, you know, honestly very, you know, well-appointed home. So, in addition to, you know, completing... Well, we guess we haven't really completed it yet because we haven't completed it until we go and see the Grubfather. But in addition to finishing up, finding the last, you know, few grubs, we get some food for thought about, you know, why is there a creature that seems like it belongs in or would have come from the abyss just hanging out in the City of Tears? Who put it there? You know, there's lots of things to think about. But for right now, what we're going to do is go and see the Grubfather. Going to see the Grubfather is what broke my recording. So hopefully that won't happen again, because otherwise, if that happens, I'll have to record this whole thing all over again. So cross your fingers that that won't happen. Zote! I saved all the grubs. Greta, I saved a bunch of children. I'm better than Zote. Look at me. Look at me, I'm okay. Alright, I guess. They're just in a world of their own. I feel like Greta would be impressed with the knight if she knew that, you know, they saved a bunch of children. But not if they knew that they just fell down a well and exploded just then. Falling down a well and exploding is not very impressive or good. Okay. Go away. I'm trying to traverse this room safely. Okay, guys. So, after some weirdness, I hope your hype train is still going strong because we are about to go and see the Grubfather. I'm excited. Let's go. Woohoo! Look at all these grubs. Yes. Okay, so after giving us a lot of money, the last thing that the Grubfather gives us is this. Grubberfly's Elegy. It is a charm, and here's what it's all about. Contains the gratitude of grubs who will move to the next stage of their lives. Imbues weapons with a holy strength. When the bearer is at full health, they will fire beams of white-hot energy from their nail. I will show you what that looks like momentarily. But for right now, let's just really quick revel in the beauty of all these grubs that have been saved. We're not going to stay here long because, again, it broke my game to stand here for too long jabbering about grubs when I tried to record the last time. But remember just how forlorn this place was, how empty it was, and the Grubfather was crying, you know, at the very beginning of the game. And now it's just full of life and happiness. Grubfather, I hope you and all your children have a wonderful life together. Alright. Quest over. Night out. See, as I've been saying all along, that is one of the quests in the game that just gives you a nice warm fuzzy feeling to have been working on it. I mean, other than there is, you know, a selfish reason to keep working on it, which is that the Grubfather gives you money and items, but Also, you know, other than money, which, you know, you can pretty much find Geo anywhere, and some items like a, you know, he gives you a mask shard, he gives you pale ore at one point. I mean, you don't really have to save the grubs, and you certainly don't have to save them after a certain point unless you want the completion thing of having all the charms, which, you know, is definitely something useful. But, you know, you don't have to save the grubs. But it's just something nice that you can do in this game. I'm just going to show you what this looks like because I am at full health. So when you have Grubberfly's Elegy equipped and you have full health, here's what it looks like. I'm going to just real quick drop down in the well and just see, you can do damage to things from farther away. It only works when you're at full health. When you're not, your nail just works like normal until you heal up again. But, you know, it can be a good addition to your arsenal since it gives you even more reach with your nail than you had before. Okay. So, the next thing that I'm going to do, which is probably going to be, you know, the major thing that's going to happen in this video is we are going to head down to, oh wait, before I do anything else, let's read the entry for the collector before I forget. Okay. Dark figure locked inside the Tower of Love preserves Hellenist creatures in glass jars with particular attention given to grubs. And the hunter has this to say: a shadow that sometimes flits through the caverns, making strange noises to itself. I've never seen it clearly, so I have no idea what type of creature it is. So the hunter also characterizes the collector as a shadow, which again, sort of makes them seem like they are akin to our fellow vessel, you know, siblings down in the abyss. So, start to say, the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to head down to, actually it's not really down, it's in the resting grounds. Do you see where that bench is in the midst of the resting grounds? That was a room that I came up into and then said, I'm not ready to do that yet. And, you know, just filled up the map by going in there. It's accessible through the catacombs. I have to do some preparation, for doing the next little, jaunt that we're going to do in this video. But, you know, you won't have to experience that because, you know, I'm just going to make a cut and say, here I am, you guys. But, alright. So, I will see you shortly. And as I said, see you in a minute, guys. Alright guys, here I am after doing my prep work for this next segment. We're down in the resting grounds after going through that catacombs area, just popped up through there and we come upon this building. Now I'm not staying at this bench for reasons that I will divulge in a moment, but as you can also see, I've brought the child and the Weaverlings along. They will be my little bodyguards on the journey I'm about to undertake. But let's stop being so cryptic and let's head into this big ol' house. Now, you look like a ghost, lady. Are you a ghost lady? Are you a ghost person? But look at this gigantic nail over here. This character is called Grey Mourner. Ah, Mehon, this world, this cruel, sinful world. Why does Che wake? Why does Che persist? Ah, Le Maire, you could not know of tragedy as complete as Che's. True lovers stripped apart, two worlds that could not meet. And now, Meled lover, dead so long in time, dead so far away, buried, Moina. Aye, amongst its hateful kin that did deny our union, that did reject Che's outsideness. She doesn't suppose? Nalo, Nalo. Could Che ask? Could Che burden? Le Maire, couldst you deliver gift to her grave? The gift is maybe small, but the trek is long. She rests amongst her kind near our queen's lush refuge. Would such a thing be done? Che asks perhaps impossible things? Mad things? For Le Maire to take up such a quest would be a kindness Che has near forgotten. Accept the gift. Now, the hint here is that this person has a lover who is buried far away near Queen's Gardens. Remember last video when we came upon that tombstone that said, "Here lies the traitor's child"? That is where we need to take this gift. So, yes, we will accept the gift and help this Grey Mourner. Rare boon you grant, Le Maire. It will be Che's last request. After this, never shall Che lay burden on another. A sacred flower is the offering. It is a rare, delicate object, one of a kind. You must cherish it, must act as though it were your own heart. If you were to get hurt whilst carrying it, or did to attempt ride those jolting transit beasts, it would be forever destroyed. Her grave lies in the middle of the Queen's overgrown estate. It is surrounded by her kind, who will not look kindly on your trespass. Take care, Le Maire. My hopes I place upon you, and my fervent wish that this small solace may come to pass. So, in case it wasn't clear, we have to go to Queen's Gardens without getting injured at all. And we cannot take the stag stations. So, you can see how that might be a little bit difficult. Okay. She just says the same thing. So, Grey Mourner had a lady love who is now dead, and she was not allowed to stay with that person because she has otherness. So, if that person was a mantis, the traitor's child, presumably the traitor lord's child, you know, perhaps he didn't take kindly to the idea of his, now we know, daughter, you know, being with whoever this is. Now, we do have a clue as to who this is there's a giant nail here, an ornate thing, there's a Hallownest seal style thing up there that we can notice, and if you remember, the shapes of the 5 Great Knights in White Defender's dream and Dung Defender's, you know, dung statues in his home, this is actually Mysterious Zemare, which also fits with the fact that she has a different dialect, she seems to be from some other place, and Che's otherness. So, a mysterious figure. So we've actually found the 5th of the 5 Great Knights, and she is alive. So far, the only one other than Ogrim, the Dung Defender, that we've been able to find alive. So, that solves that mystery. Now, we are going on this quest to deliver a delicate flower, given to you by the Grey Mourner in the resting grounds. She has asked you to place it at the grave of her mantis lover in the Queen's Gardens. The flower is very fragile and will be destroyed if you take damage or ride the stagways. So, the rest of this video is going to be me trying to get there without hurting myself. Now, my prep was, and the reason why I will not be staying at any benches along the way, I went through the route backwards to get rid of some of the more difficult enemies, the kind that don't respawn unless you hit up a bench. So a bit of a, you know, not really a cheat, just a strategy, but I think worth it. So rather than just make a cut and see if I get there, you know, you should probably just watch me potentially fail. So we're going to go, all this way. What we're going to do is, I may as well tell you what the route is. We're going to go through where the Blue Lake is, through that part of Forgotten Crossroads where Salubra is, and then go up and through, again, Forgotten Crossroads, down into where it connects up with Fog Canyon there, where you drop down into Fog Canyon. We're going to drop down to the Teacher's Archives and go through that area, and then head through the entrance to Queen's Gardens that we used when we first went into Queen's Gardens, go all the way over here, through Queen's Gardens to, it's that little sticky outy bit right above where the Stag Station is. See, if you could take a Stag Station, it would take all of 5 minutes. You could potentially still get injured in that last room, which is what I'm worried is going to happen. But, that's our route. So I'm going to be checking it frequently to make sure I'm on the right track. But the reason why I brought the child and the Weaverlings along is to, especially in Fog Canyon, to help clear my way. I managed to get rid of the exploding ones, and they shouldn't come back, but the little jellyfish are just like lurking in various places, and my little buddies will help. Oh my god. Let's stop talking, because speaking of little buddies, it's our big buddy Quirrell. Oh, you know what? You remember, when we saw Quirrell for the first time in City of Tears, he remarked upon the endless rain and said that he would like to see where the rain came from. Where the rain in City of Tears comes from, I don't remember if I told you this, but it only makes sense. It all comes from the Blue Lake. It all leaks down there. So here's Quirrell, the first time we've seen him since killing Monoman, who he had been helping by taking her mask out of the kingdom, and he didn't even remember that was why he left or why he came back. This is our first time seeing him since then. Quirrell, I'm sorry my little buddies are going to be buzzing about us this whole time, but let's hear what you have to say.
Go on, Amane Churo.
He sounds tired now, like more tired than he did before. Again we meet, my short friend. Here at last, I feel peace. Twice I've seen this world, and though my service may have stripped the first experience from me, I'm thankful I could witness its beauty again. Hallownest is a vast and wondrous thing, but with as many wonders as it holds, I've seen none quite so intriguing as you. Huh. My flattery returns only silent stoicism. I like that. I like that very much. Incredible. See, remember, because we don't talk back. That's, further confirmation, we don't talk back. Oh, we get the option to, we can just sit. Just sitting with Quirrell and my little friends. That's all that he has left to say. You can't listen again. And you can just sit and enjoy a quiet moment. Well, as quiet as you can get with the Grimchild around. Lovely, content little spot. But let's see what he's thinking about. To live in age, yet remember so little. Perhaps I should be thankful? All tragedy erased, I see only wonders. So in the end, despite losing his memory and, basically, I don't want to say being used, because we don't really know what happened between him and Monoman that he was entrusted with her mask. Perhaps he's someone who meant a great deal to her, we really just don't know. But he felt her call to come back. But even despite wandering outside the bounds of Hallownest and not being able to remember things, and we don't really know the extent of his memory loss. Does he remember his wanderings outside Hallownest, but just not anything that happened within Hallownest? Is that part and parcel with that claim that's made that outside Hallownest no one has a mind? I mean, we kind of know that's not exactly true. But do people who leave Hallownest forget, their time in Hallownest? Or is it something else? Did he forget because of Monomon's mask's influence was part of her deal with him that he would take the mask and not remember things so that he wouldn't want to come back to her? You know, we just don't know the details of what is going on with Quirrell besides what he said, which is that he, from the beginning, seemed to be a wanderer who was very happy to, you know, come to this ancient kingdom and learn its ins and outs. It turned out he's from here to begin with, but, you know, in the end, he was our good and trusted friend who helped us, you know, defeat Umu and eventually kill Monomon. And he was always a friendly face to see in, you know, the darkest of places, even, you know, down in Deep Nest and up in Crystal Peak and all kinds of other dangerous spots. Could always count on seeing him again, and yeah. Alright, Quirrell. I'm on a quest from Grey Mourner, and I have to take a flower to her dead girlfriend. I'm sure you'd wish me luck if I could actually express to you what was going on. But, au revoir. I'm sure we'll meet again. And then the knight just silently paddles away into, you know, the wilds of the Blue Lake. I like to think that friendship is, like, not one-sided. I mean, Quirrell expresses that he likes your stoicism and silence very much. Maybe he sees the knight as, you know, restful company. I remember when we saw Tiso on the other side of the lake, you know, complaining about how it was, too peaceful. But Quirrell enjoys that peacefulness. Okay, so glad we could have a nice, you know, little moment with our friend. Actually, rather than accidentally possibly run into one of the ones that explodes down there, because I think there might be one of those ones that explodes down there, I'm just going to continue across. See, some of the things that I managed to get rid of in here as part of my preparations was all of the infected, the super duper infected bench flies. I see you up there. I don't want you to hurt me. Thank you. Thank you, Grimchild. You did it. See, that's why I brought them along. So that they could kill an aspid for me, so that I wouldn't stupidly run into it. I'll be quiet for a minute here so that I don't make a stupid mistake. Probably gonna be kind of quiet through some of this, you know, journey, just because of having to concentrate on not hurting myself. This is very tense, actually. I just want to say, you know, like, this would be, you know, a fairly, you know, normal journey. It's pretty long, but, you know, not terribly hard. But, get it, Grimchild. I know you can do this for me. You didn't have to do it. Don't worry about it. Good if we go through here or up above. No, up above. Okay. But it does get, like, very dramatically tense because of the fact that I can't get hurt, not even once. Like, even just that scenery dropping, like, makes my heart go too fast. about to head into what is probably the most difficult part of this, which is the Fog Canyon section. Although I guess the Queen's Gardens part is not easy either. What we've done so far has not been that hard, but that's why I'm hoping that, I'm hoping that my little weaverlings will assist me in not being hurt. Waiting for them to get that one for me so that I could safely drop down, because I would like to avoid any and all among these sparks. Just completely avoid them, not go through them, worry about their timing. Just gonna go around. Okay, we're gonna, as I said, go through where the teacher's archives is. So some of these I could be getting myself, but I like my children to feel useful. Okay, teacher's archives area is safe. And that was where we saw Quirrell last. I do love Quirrell. I hope you guys have as much affection for him as I do, because I really do truly enjoy his company throughout the game. This is actually where we're going, yep. Just through here. Okay. Now that turned out to not be so hard. Not as hard as I worried. But now I guess, I said that was the hardest part, but I guess Queen's Gardens is actually the hardest. Gotta just be on the lookout. Especially since some of these enemies blend into the background. It's mainly the background, though, that's gonna try to kill me. I'm really, really worried that I'm going to get all the way to where I need to go and then just, you know, suddenly get dead or hurt. I don't even have to die, I just have to be hurt once. And it will break the flower, unfortunately. Okay, we gotta go up and over. Where the side station is. Yeah, go get it. Go get it. Whee! Let's see how many hits it takes. That was 3, 4, 5. It took 5 hits to kill one. Okay. We are very close. And I am very on the edge of my seat. Go get it. Go get it. I'm scared of everything right now. Grimchild, get it. Guys. Okay, I guess I could probably just... Why aren't you getting it, Grimchild? Thank you. I needed you to get it. Go get that one. Okay. Alright. Okay. Okay. Oh my god, you guys, we did it! We did it on our very first try. Oh my god. I will tell you this before we place the flower. If you do get hurt at any point, the flower just, you know, it doesn't disintegrate. In fact, it leaves behind like a sad, wilted version of itself that's missing most of its petals. If you go back to Grey Mourner, actually, hold on. I will tell you what she says. Hold on just a second, y'all. Okay, I'm gonna tell you what Zemer's other dialogue is. If you tell her that you won't take the flower, she says, "You turn away? Chase should have expected such. This world is not one of favors, only of heartache." And then, if you fail to deliver the flower, it's interesting because she makes a noise that actually sounds like some of her dialogue. She actually goes, "Oh, why?" And that's actually what her dialogue is. "Chase sacred, precious, one of its kind flower, ruined. Chase love, denied her final gift. Such suffering for Che, such misery. Che thought she could bear no more. I suppose Che does have one more flower, though. But Le Maire, this one is equally sacred and equally fragile. Worst one to accept such quest, it must become a precious heart. Would such a thing be again tried?" So, you, get given another one, because it was one of a kind, but really it's not, which is kind of funny. If you take it from her again, then she says, "Mahon, does the heart beat a moment? Share pain of grief and hope to soothe it? Would you convey Che's final gift unto her lover's grave?" And then, once you take it, if you listen to her again, she says, "Then this new, sacred, one of its kind flower Che shall give you. As Che warned before, it dost become precious as one's heart whilst held. If you were to get hurt again whilst carrying it, or did attempt to ride those jolting transit beasts, this one too shall be destroyed. Though my faith in one has been challenged, my hopes are still with you, Le Maire." So she kind of gets a little passive-aggressive. Her hope has been challenged. Oh. And then she just says the same thing about her lover's grave being in the midst of the Queen's retreat, but she ends with, "Be safe and be more careful, Mahon." And then if you mess up again, then she says, "Why? Destroyed again? Another rare and precious thing reduced to wilted stem. Che does have spare, but Le Maire must know. A precious sacred flower it is. She did not want to part with it, but for Meled love she would give all. Wouldst that quest again be taken?" And then, if you do it again, if you speak to her again after taking it, she says, "Wouldst you perhaps attempt the journey to Che's lover's grave again?" Alright. So, we do have that. I wanted you to know that since I didn't fail this time, I was honestly thinking that I was going to fail at least once and you'd get to hear her sad wailing. She actually really does sound like, "Oh, why?" And it's just very, very sad because you're a terrible failure because you got hit once on that long, hard road. Alright, so here we go. Inspect. We'll see what happens when we inspect it with the flower. Planted and a lot more come. And the mantis lover, her ghost, just gives you a nod and that's basically all. Now from here on out, you can actually, if you go out and come back in after saving, you can actually take flowers from there. But for right now, so we're not going to do anything like that. For right now, actually I do have one more thing that I want to do in Queen's Gardens before heading back to Zemer and completing that quest. And rather than have to come back here, I want to just make the trip real quick. So I will be right back, guys. Okay, gang. What I wanted to do was, I realized that the White Lady didn't give some dialogue that I could have sworn that she gives, so I'm just gonna check and see if she does give it now, after having saved and come back. Alright, let's see. Yep, here we go. Do I seem prisoner here? If so, it's not by any choice but my own. These bindings about me, I've chosen to erect. There is some shame I feel from my own part in the deed, and this method guarantees its cease. I still feel that urge, you see. I always will. A voracious desire to spread seeds upon the land, to propagate myself, to breed. Okay. So, she says, and again, remember what she was saying while we were, listening to her the last time. She talked about, the creation of the pure vessel and how, she seemed sort of disappointed in the Hollow Knight for, not being able to contain the infection properly. I'm sorry, Cloth. But, just then, she said that, for her own part in the deed, and a desire to breed. So, that's very important lore. There we go. She dropped another bombshell on us. The Queen was not done, telling us important things, because she has basically just revealed that the vessel, and in fact all of the vessels, are in some way her children. Now, that was possibly something that you could have guessed from what she said last time. We were sort of putting things together as, Hornet saying that her power comes from a similar source to us, but not the emptiness part. Hornet having the Pale King and Hera as her parents, and we were sort of, we'd sort of realized that, probably the similar source of our powers was not the spider part from Hera, because we have really nothing spidery about us. And the White Lady just said, finally gonna save after all of that. I'm gonna give you guys a break. But, White Lady just declared that the vessels are in some way her children, because otherwise, if her urge was to breed, the urge that she, wants to curb by putting herself into that, sealed off place and basically planting her roots there, is breeding urge. Her part in the deed involved making a lot of children. And so, now, we could sort of guess, or rather have the guess confirmed. White Lady's our mom. White Lady is mom. Oh, great. All the enemies are back. Oh no. White Lady is mom. But, does that necessarily mean that Pale King is dad? Because we're still looking for what could the similar source of our powers be. But, think about it, guys. We were able to take on the King's brand. No one seems very shocked by that. I mean, Hornet was just kind of like, yeah, I guess. And, everyone else who's commented has just been like, oh, so, you have the King's brand now. No one is surprised, like, God, this is so shocking. And, even the description of the King's brand says something like, ancient marks the bearer as king. No one wonders if anyone could have picked that up, or maybe just a vessel. Alright, let's just see what the Grey Mourner has to say, and then I'm gonna have a little bit more to say. Hello, I delivered your flower. And she actually says Le Maire. You can hear it in, her voice dialogue. Me? Le Maire, you have done this thing? Is it possible? This world's cruelty, I thought it overwhelming. But, Le Maire, such great compassion, that chaste love would know her partner's heart even eons past. Is it that, Le Maire? Such grief can end? Che can end? Oh, and I, dear love, Che too can end.
La mer n'a ma vie.
And she just up and died and just sort of dissolved herself and disappeared. Again, one wonders, what the heck? Like, how did she just suddenly do that? But that leaves Ogrim alone of the 5 knights. So this joyous occasion of getting the last mask shard, that's all of them, gang. We now have, 9 masks. There's no more mask shards to get in the world. That joyous occasion kind of marred by the fact that even though we were able to help Zemare, leave that last token, maybe she thought that she would not be able to do it with all of her love's, kin trying to stop her. And maybe she didn't want to have to kill them because that is her, her love's family. So, that's why she didn't want to undertake it herself. But after that, she's basically just like, okay, I have no more reason to live. So, I mean, in a way, that could be a mercy because, she does not have her true love anymore. And maybe she doesn't, see that there's any reason for her to go on. Especially considering the state that the kingdom is in. But it's still, one of Hollow Knight's many melancholy moments, because just the thought that there's no reason for you to go on, that's, pretty sad. Yeah, so I have a little bit more to say, as we're actually going to go to 2 more places real quick. They're places we've already been just now, but just think about it. Pale King is dad? I mean, that's pretty interesting. Also, the Pale King being, possibly the Knight's father, possibly the Hollow Knight's father, in some way. I mean, there's still Void and the black stuff in the Abyss being involved here. So, how does that come into play when you... Yeah, that was one of the enemies I got rid of along the way, too. How does the Void part come into play that Hornet lacks, because she doesn't have that emptiness that allows us to potentially be vessels for the infection. So, what is going on here? And also, if you already didn't like the Pale King for, sealing away all of those, vessel siblings down below in the Abyss and calling them Refuge and Regret, if we're all his children, that becomes even worse. And if we're her children, the White Lady saying things like, oh, why don't you just go usurp the vessel? It clearly wasn't good enough, which is sort of the attitude that she takes. It's just, oh, that one was tainted, but I wish that you would, go and try to do it. She feels some, regret at her part in this deed. This cruel means, as Ogrim put it. I don't like it. And I'm wondering if you guys don't like it either. Here's where we're going to go. We're going to head to the Blue Lake, because I wanted you to see that Quirrell is gone. And he has left his sword behind. That was the last time that we will see him in the game. And I'm glad that we did, sit for a little while with him. Because, that was, our last chance to see him. A lot of people think that Quirrell, after, sitting with you at the Blue Lake, committed suicide by drowning himself in the Blue Lake and left the sword as a marker. You do get an achievement for sitting with Quirrell there. I forget exactly what it's called, but, if you hold on just a second, I can find that out. One moment. Okay, the achievement that you get for the first time when you sit by Quirrell in your game is called Witness. And, you know, some people interpret that to mean that, like, you're the last witness to, you know, him alive. Why am I in here? What I really meant to do was to, get out of here. Here's where I'm going. Because I just want to get to a stag station. And so that means, like, you're witnessing his last moments. He did sound rather tired when, you know, speaking to you. And he said he felt at peace and that he, you know, was happy to have been able to experience Hallownest for a second time, almost as if he thought that he was coming to an end. And, you know, leaving your sword behind in a very dangerous place like Hallownest almost seems like a suicidal thing to do. However, it is left up to interpretation. As I said, it's just that it's a lot of people's headcanon that he committed suicide by drowning in the Blue Lake. That is not my personal interpretation. I won't say that it's wrong because, like I said, it is left very open-ended what happens to Quirrell, and he is gone and you don't see him again. My personal interpretation, and this is what I have thought the entire time, like, you know, I didn't think of it as like, oh, I need to fix this, I'm going to headcanon that he's actually alive. I just never thought of it as him being dead until I read other people's, you know, works on the subject. But, I just assumed that what he had said, you know, even long before he even remembered that, you know, he was Monomon's servant and, you know, came back in order to help destroy her. You know, what he had said was he wanted to see where the rain came from one last, you know, as one last thing. Before, well, actually, he didn't even say one last thing. He said he wanted to see where the rain came from before he left. So he, to me, as a wanderer, always intended to eventually leave Hallownest at the end of whatever it was that he was planning to do. See, I think he thought he was sort of following a call but didn't realize it, and I think he thought, oh, this is just another place for me to wander through and check out. But we're actually going back to the grub room, but I want to finish saying this before we do. So I just interpreted it as he found the Blue Lake, the source of the water, you know, shared a moment with his friend, you know, serendipitously was able to see the night again, and then just left. And perhaps he left his nail behind as a thing of, you know, Monomon gave me this mask to protect, presumably, and, you know, keep from harm outside the kingdom, but also keep it away from the kingdom. You know, this sword was something that I had to protect myself. At the very beginning, Quirrell even says, loot the corpses. They, you know, they have things that the dead shouldn't be burned with, so possibly he got the sword, you know, his nail off of a corpse, maybe even in Hallownest just before you know, started talking to him for the first, or I should say started listening to him for the first time. Or he had it, you know, the whole time. Actually, in the little prequel comic, he does have a nail, so I shouldn't speculate that he got it somewhere else, actually. I mean, that he got it in Hallownest, actually. But, you know, maybe he left it behind because he wants to leave his wandering swordsman life behind. He wants to leave Hallownest and go somewhere else and live peacefully. That's sort of how I interpreted it. So, you know, it can really go both ways. I chose the slightly happier version because I don't want my bestest friend in this whole game to be dead. But, yeah. I just wanted to, you know, share that with you before ending the video. And the last thing I want to share with you is another thing that is very open to interpretation that I did not actually see in my first playthrough because I never came back here after taking the charm from the Grubfather, but brace yourselves, guys. This is going to get weird. Okay, where are all the grubs? And then you come in here and you come upon a giant Grubfather who's laughing to himself, and you can hear grubs. And you can dream nail it, and he says, happy, happy, happy. And this is the first time you can actually interact with the Grubfather. So the implication is he ate his children. And again, this is open to interpretation. I gotta get out of this room just in case it like freezes the game or something. But open to interpretation. Did the Grub Father have you bring all of his children back safely to him only to eat them and kill them? Now, that's, you know, the way that, again, a lot of people see it. I don't see it that way. Because, again, I like to see the silver lining in these things. Remember, the description of the Grubberfly's elegy charm says, grubs who will move on to the next stage of their lives. There are some kinds of, you know, creatures in the world, you know, and potentially this is like a more fantastic and extreme version of it, that incubate, you know, like under the skin of their, you know, parents. There's a kind of frog that does that, for example. And then they're released. So, personally, my interpretation of that is the Grub Father is keeping his grubs safe, and they're going to, you know, pupate, and eventually, you know, he will die. He's the one who's going to die, not them. And they will emerge as these grubberflies, you know, with wings. You know, interestingly, I just realized this charm has kind of look to it, almost like a Hallownest seal with the triple wings. But you know, how I saw it was that when I did come across it in my second playthrough, was that the Grub Father is protecting his children while they grow to become, you know, the next stage of their lives. And it's an elegy because he is, you know, going to perish as a result of, you know, this activity. But also you can see it as, well, you just helped this guy to do to the grubs even worse than what the Collector did. This is all just so very terrible. That warm and, you know, friendly feeling that you got from helping, you know, this father reunite with his children has been completely sullied, and you actually got them all killed. I don't like that interpretation. That one, I don't want to say that it's wrong, but it just doesn't sit right with me. I want the Grub Father to be a good father who loves his children unto sacrificing his life. Unlike our parents, our, you know, hypothetical parents, the Pale King and the White Lady. So having come like pretty full circle after having a mishap and not being able to show you the Collector battle in its original form, I do apologize for that, but I hope that seeing it in Godhome, you know, gave you the flavor of it. But coming full circle from, you know, having a character that loved, you know, the grubs, presumably so much that they wanted to imprison them forever, to the revelation from White Lady that she had a part in the creation of the vessels that was akin to breeding, and the inference that the king was also involved in this, because where else would we have gotten, you know, a same power as Hornet if we have different mothers than from the king, who is definitely Hornet's father. And we now have a father who would go to any length to protect his children and help them to grow. At least that's my interpretation of it. And we got to see off our dearly beloved friend Quirrell also as part of this video, and we got to help some lovers possibly reunite in death. You know, we helped, well, we didn't really help Cloth do that, but I guess we did by inspiring her to, you know, not be afraid. But we have another set of loves who could potentially be reunited in an afterlife. You know, and we got our last mask shard out of the deal. So we did a lot in this video, you guys, and I hope that you enjoyed it despite the idiosyncrasies of it. It's no mistake that I came to Dirtmouth to end this video, because the next one will be taking care of some things that are right here in town. And I'll leave you to speculate as to what those might be. So, until next time, have a good day, everybody.